Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's tips and tricks training webinar for SendMyAd. We've got a full agenda today, so I'll give you a quick overview and then we'll get started right away. We're going to talk about a feature that's been around for a while in our other product, Virtual Publisher, but which we've recently added to SendMyAd, and that's called bulk ad reservations. And that lets us quickly create a lot of reservations at once, so very handy. We're going to talk about customizing the print ad upload form. There are elements of that that are probably very familiar to you. There's some options that are a little obscure that maybe you've not seen before, but we'll go through the whole process there. And we're going to go through in detail spreads and splits for our last topic. So a tutorial. There's quite a few new features with that. There's features that you may not be aware of that have been there for a long time. We've touched on elements of spreads and splitting in some of our previous webinars, but we're going to try and go through it comprehensively today. And I think that'll be really helpful for a lot of people considering how much has changed lately. Okay, just a few notes before we get started. There's a zoom button in the upper left of the screen. You may need to expand your image of the GoToWebinar client in order to see my screen. I'm on a fairly large monitor, but not enormous. Questions, you can type those into the same GoToWebinar control panel or software that you see. I or one of my colleagues will answer those either as they come in, or we may save them at the end, depending on when it's most appropriate. All right, and that's it. Let's get started. All right, I'm logged in as a publisher, and I've got a fair number of ads here. And I want to show you this new option on how to import new ad reservations in mass. So it's an option that has to be enabled for your account. So if you don't see under the Actions menu when viewing print ads, import ad reservations. If you don't see that and you think you should, or you're interested in having it turned on, let us know. You can let us know in support or contact your sales rep. But all you have to do once that's enabled is click Import Ad Reservations. And this will bring up an initial screen. And what this does is it allows us to upload a comma-separated text file. Now you can create those in Microsoft Excel if you want, and you can just export it as a CSV file. And what we do is we browse for our file once we've prepared it on our desktop, and then we'll actually inspect that file. So let me first show you what the CSV file looks like, and then we'll actually upload one here. Now, what we do is we give you a sample. So if you click this link, it's going to download a file for you. And that file is it's just just looks like a spreadsheet, and it's got columns across the top, and it tells you what those are, and that's going to come in useful in a moment. Now, you can't just take the sample file and immediately upload it and have it work. You have to go through and customize it with information that is applicable to you. So what I mean by that is if we look across the top, there's some columns that we know are going to have to change. Okay? Publication and issue are significant. Of course, when you make a reservation, that's basic. You've got to have that stuff. Okay, we have to have ad size. That's the name or code of our ad size in SendMyAd. So whatever you have set up there, and I'll take you through and briefly show you the corresponding stuff in the interface. But those are significant: publication, issue, ad size. Okay, materials ID. This is um, this is one of those things, either materials ID or external ID. These are unique identifiers for your ads. So this is something that you'll need to control. This is something that you would need to give a unique identifier for one of these two fields. And color space ties to your ad, your color profiles. The rest of the stuff is just metadata, so it's kind of optional. You don't really need to have that there, but whatever you put there is going to be added to the reservation. Okay, let's switch back now, and I'll go ahead and upload my file. Okay, that's my CSV file. You see it will very quickly upload. And now what will happen is it will give me an interface where I can customize the names of my columns that were in my spreadsheet to our SendMyAd fields. Now, because we're using this based on our sample file, these match up pretty much one-to-one here. We call the headline a headline, we call the product a product. If you're dealing with data that's been exported from your own custom ad booking system, maybe you manage this with spreadsheets and your columns are named differently, that's perfectly okay. As long as you know what goes where, all you have to do is select here from the list and tell it what SendMyAd, the destination, what that's going to be. Okay, so if you call product something different in the spreadsheet, it will detect that from the column in the spreadsheet and then allow you to map it. Okay, the important fields are ones that are starred here. Okay, so like I said, materials ID, what we're saying is that becomes our unique identifier, and you can either choose from the external ID or the materials ID. Okay. We'll use materials ID because I didn't supply an external ID in my field or my spreadsheet. Okay, and I'm going to leave the rest of those alone and hit process file. Okay, and so you can see that what it did was it went through the file and it gives us a summary of what it's done. Okay, so up here at the top it tells us it's updated one ad and it's created 8 new ads. If it detects based on that unique ID, the materials ID, it will go ahead and update any of those fields that you've supplied in the existing ad reservation. So it's a very handy way to also refresh, update if you've got new information coming in from an ad booking system, for example, then you can reliably update it by just rerunning your file. Now, you can see that it created these things for us. And if we open one of them, you can see that it picked up my materials ID. It picked up the information that was in my spreadsheet. Okay. So that is a lot faster, of course, than going to reserve insertion, going through this whole thing. Okay. So if you prefer to work this way, or if you have an external system that's supplying you data, this is definitely the way to go with making reservations. Now, I mentioned that you have to match up some things exactly. And so the name of my publication was Lancaster Today. When I look at that, I was basing this on the code. I could actually match by name or code, but the publication code or publication name must match exactly what you have in your text file. Okay. Issues, it's the same thing. When you have an issue, it supplies it right here. I matched the issue code. You could also do the name. Codes are generally shorter and no special characters or spaces. They're just generally a little less prone to error or misinterpretation. So if you have codes, this is one of the ways that, or one of the things that uses codes is actually very useful. Ad sizes, I believe I matched that with the name, but those also have codes as well, so you can use either one. Okay. And then color profiles, we were looking for the color spaces there. Okay. So it's this is a great way to very quickly add reservations when you need. Now I want to go back there and show you a couple other options. That's great for an initial import of the reservations. But as I said, you can also use this to refresh and also to pick up ads. So just to briefly go through that, if I browse for a file that I want to use for pickups, okay, what we have to do is we have to tell it what to do, how to handle pickups. So one option is to say never pick up any ads. So I'm saying that whatever I'm supplying in my file, I want those to be new reservations. I don't care if it matches other criteria. Just make me a new ad. Okay? And then the other is what to do if it does find a match based on our unique key field, so the materials ID. So you've got a couple choices there. You can pick up the first match or only pick up when there's one matching ad. So if there's multiples, you may get an error there. Okay, I can leave all the rest of this alone. I'll hit process file. And you can see that it tells me that it updated 2 existing ads and it didn't create any new ones. And it tells me the process ID, and I can also click the row and it will take me there and show me. Okay. So whatever new data I put in there would appear here. All right, so that is, like I said, is a newish feature. If you don't have Virtual Publisher, this might be the first time you've seen this. If you are a Virtual Publisher customer as well, that is probably a familiar process for you, but has now been made available for us in SendMyAd. Okay, let's talk about our second topic, which is how to customize the print ad form. This whole experience of creating an ad and uploading to us, we're talking about this form. Now, at the moment, I've turned on pretty much all the field options here, including a couple of custom fields. So this form may look significantly longer than what you provide for your advertisers right now. So I wanted to show you sort of the long version, and we'll show you how to customize that stuff. I've also, you'll see up here, I have a bit of custom text. Okay, and there's a custom field here as well. I have some fields that are required that have an asterisk. The ones without asterisks are optional. Okay, so let's come back and talk about how to set those things up. All of that is controlled in your company profile, and go to print ad settings. If you skip down a little bit, here's the ad upload form. Now, there's a custom feature we put in for someone quite a long time ago that's rarely used, but I'll explain what it is, and that's this one right here. Advertisers can only send through existing materials requests. One of our publishers had the requirement that they didn't want people logging in and just uploading ads. They always wanted that to be matched up to a materials request that they had created. So we put this option in for that publisher, but it's available to everyone. If you want to try to limit the ability of your advertisers to just come into the system and start randomly uploading ads, or you really need to have them tied to an existing materials request, you can turn that on. Okay, I would advise you to experiment with it a little bit and see if it works for you. But that's what that does. As you know, we accept PDF files, and that's the intent, is that everyone sends PDF files, and we pre-flight those and give feedback to the advertiser. But we also, for print ads, can give the option to accept zip files. The zip files, they're a little special. They behave much like print ads in that they can be delivered, they generate the emails, the receipts, all of that. But of course, we can't pre-flight the zip file. And sometimes that's used as a workaround. If someone has an ad that they simply can't get it to go through pre-flight, and they've talked to you about it and have said, look, I'm stuck, can you fix this for me? But you still want it to go through the process. You still want it to go through the emails, publisher approvals, you want it delivered, all of the other features of SendMyAd you want to take advantage of. So if you want that to happen, and you want that to be an option for the users, then you can turn on allow upload of zip files. Now, if you want to be sneaky about it, that's what the next option is, hide ability to upload zip files, because you may not want to advertise the fact, right? You know how advertisers are. They'll maybe try once and then they'll get frustrated, and rather than trying to solve their problem, which is the whole intent, they'll just say, they'll throw their hands in the air, I'll send you a zip file, or I'll email it to you, or so this option, what it does is in the print ad upload form, it will just simply not mention that we take zip files. We will say we accept PDF files, and we just won't mention zip files. But that allows you to talk to that frustrated customer who's pressed for time, they can't manage it, and you say, look, zip it up for me, you can upload it, and I'll take it from here. Okay, so it's a way for you to limit those zip files, but still to accept them. Okay. All right. Allow only one issue per ad. What this is, I'll show you briefly here. In just a normal ad, we have an option here where we can edit the issues that a ad is running in. And you can see right here that there's a future issue that has not yet been assigned to this ad. It's running in this issue. So I can simply click that, and this ad now runs in multiple issues. Well, for a variety of reasons, that workflow may not be good for you. And there's some options on our side that, using our API, for instance, where it really works best if you only allow one issue per ad, meaning that if the ad needs to run in another issue, you do a pickup or a send to other publication, a copy, in other words, rather than just simply assigning multiple issues. Okay, so there are technical reasons on our side why you might be encouraged to do that. It may just fit your workflow better. You may want to encourage users to do pickups rather than than being able to sign issues like that. So if that fits your need, that's available right there. Okay, let's talk about upload form items. You have probably seen this. This is the most common thing that people customize in here. So I'm just briefly going to run through this. But basically, this is a comprehensive list of all the fields that can appear on the print ad upload form, what I showed you initially. And the way this works is it lets you turn stuff on and require it. Okay? So if you look through at this, you can see that the advertiser field, which was the top field that is required, and that always is just going to appear. That's sort of an exception. The rest of these, we can turn them off. So maybe I don't want the advertiser number. And maybe I want headline, but maybe I don't want brand. Maybe I don't need the product URL. Maybe I don't want the add coupon checkbox. Okay. So that's how I do that. For show proofing options, there is a list of stock things that we provide here, and you can change the label of those or hide them if you want. So for instance, a very common one here is that publisher supplied. I want you to create a proof for me. Well, maybe you're not in the business of doing proofs for your customers' ads. So you can just simply turn that off and it won't appear as a choice, as I've done here. I only allow them to provide a proof or say that they don't want a proof. They waive the proof. You can also specify which of these appear on a pickup. So for instance, we have a form for doing pickups that's very similar to sending an ad. But what we can say is that we'll allow them to waive a proof or to pick up an existing proof from the last time the ad ran. Okay, so that's where you can control that stuff. Okay, now the users always have to select what issue the ad is going to run in. And the way you identify the issue to the advertiser can be customized here. So issue name is common, but you may also want to identify it with the run date or the materials due date or the on sale date. Okay, knowing that this is for advertisers, materials due date is what you would probably want because that's the date you've told your advertisers that they must send you their ads. Okay, I'll change that so we can see the difference. Okay, a couple more fields here. There's the add contact selector and requiring that to be confirmed. I'll just turn that off for now. Turn off the sales rep and additional instructions text area. You may not want that on either so that they have to communicate with you directly in email or phone. Okay, so let's come back and show the difference. Okay, and you can see that already my list is less. Okay, and there's my for issues select materials due date. So that previously was the name. Okay, let's come back and note just a couple more things. We have a upload form message. That was that white text that was up at the very top. Sometimes people, this can be HTML, so you could link to your website, you could link to your ad specifications, rules, your document, like a PDF file or something like that. That's where you do that. Custom metadata options. You notice that I had something called a string field. This was something that I had set aside, and it's available to everyone because I didn't click publisher only, and it's on the upload form. And I also made it required. Okay. So I can turn off that requirement if I want. And I can add any of my own fields here. Okay. This is something we've covered previous times in webinars. Manage publication groups. This is something that if you have a long list of publications, you can group them together. So you may want to do, publications A through F and G through, M or something like that. You just simply add, give it a name, a description, and then you select which publications you want to add to it. Okay. Lastly, you can create different types of ads. This is really just metadata, but it can appear and allow users to select and tag an ad with what it is. And I just want to point out, if you didn't see it before, that custom text I was talking about is right up here. Okay, so that in this case was just some plain text, but as I said, it's an HTML editor. You can put different things in there if you want, links and all that, and style as well. Okay, so I hope that gives you an idea of the range of options that are available. If you look at any two publishers in our system, their upload forms always look different because people go in and select what can be available and what not, and what is required. So the goal, of course, is to make that experience as streamlined as possible for your advertisers. Okay, let's now talk about spreads. Now, if you use spreads already and you have not been using splitting, then that's something that you may not even be aware that it exists. But it's an optional setting that we can turn on in your account. It's something that if you want it, let us know, let your sales rep know, and we can see about turning it on for you. We can process spreads in a couple ways, even without splitting on. But splitting is basically just taking the spread sized ad that you see and then being able to split it in half at some point in the process. And there are different ways to handle it. Okay, so let's talk about how to set this stuff up. So let's go to our publication and our ad sizes. Okay, and let's look at one of our spread sizes. I have a spread page one here. Let's look at that. There's a little button called Configure Spreads that becomes available when the coverage of the ad dictates that it's larger than what it should than a full page. When that's available, you can click that button and you can customize some things here. And one of the first decisions that you need to make is, will you accept single files for each spread side? And I'll show you what that looks like in the upload form. If you have splitting turned on, you'll also have this file treatment select menu here. Okay? And the two options are do not split the spread, or to split the spread after advertiser approval. Now, if I've got anyone here online that has been using splitting for quite a while, you'll notice that there's an option that's no longer there. We used to have something called auto split, and that would happen sort of behind the scenes when an ad was uploaded. We would immediately split the ad. We've moved away from that, and so if you had that enabled for a previous ad spec, then it's probably been converted to the split spread after advertiser approval. That's really the replacement. We felt that was a more natural way of handling this. but I'll give you an example of both of these. Okay, you can adjust the gutter size. You can see a preview of both halves of the split pair, and you can do some customization with the geometry here. You also can give a label. This is what would appear in the uploader if you're accepting single files, and also a code. The code for each size can be used predominantly for delivery. So when these pages get delivered, you can tack on a variable, what we call the spread side code, and that will help you deliver to the same folder, but have names that are unique for the left and right pages. All right. Let's look at just a couple more settings. These are in the company profile. Those are what I just showed you is handled per ad spec. Okay, so you need to decide for each of your publications, for each of your spread sizes, how you want them to behave, and they can behave differently. There's a couple global settings that you need to also consider, and these are new. They're in our print ad settings. There's a section called splitting ads. Okay? And these came about because we did add two things. We added this new option to split after advertiser approval, and we also changed how we view the spread splits. So I'll show you that as well. But the combination of those two features requires you to think how you want the experience to be for your advertiser. So the first one is, can the advertiser, can they see the split pages? Okay. So if they've, if you've split their files, do you want them to know that? Do you want them to see those? And then the other thing is, after a user has approved their spread page and it then splits, do you want those separate left and right pages to also be approved? Okay. Now, we're not talking about publisher approval. We're talking here about that initial advertiser approval. So that initial first step. So what we're really doing here is we're trying to let you decide how streamlined and how much of this do you want the advertiser to be aware of. The final option here is to configure mirroring for spread splitting. You can set up some options for the split mirror size, and then that's available as an option when an ad is split. Okay, let's go back, and I've uploaded a couple of ads already to speed this up for us. I have one here that's called Spread No Split. And this is an ad that it's been received already by me. It's essentially done. Okay, the advertiser uploaded it. There is no split. Okay, it's just it's our parent, full size ad here. Because I have splitting turned on, though, I now have an option in my actions menu to split the spread. We just talked about mirroring. You can select none or one of these options here. Split the ad. Okay, now it'll take a moment, but you can see that my viewer has changed. I now have a collection here. I have my original spread, and I have the left and right pages. You can click on those individually and get the status of those. On our server, we're taking those files and actually, cutting them in half based on the ad sizes that we had set up. Okay, and then to show you while that's processing back here in our print ads view, this is a change. It used to be that when we split the ad, we would show you the parent spread, the original, full-size ad, and then along next to it in separate elements here, you'd see the left and the right pages. That's no longer the case. We now group those together. And so when I click this, I can see these, that they belong together. Before they appeared to be separate. They were linked, but we were even in the past we were taking that original spread and hiding it so as to avoid confusion. But we thought it just made a lot more sense to show it intact and then to group with it the left and right pages. Okay, so each of those are there, and they can be delivered as well. Okay, let me quickly go back here, and I forget what I set this on. I had it so the advertiser cannot see the split page ads and that they are not required to approve the split pages. So I'm now going to log in as the advertiser that uploaded those spread files. Okay, so here's my spread that we just split. And I don't see, as the advertiser, I don't see the split pages. And that is very often how publishers want this to work. Splitting is a production step that would only confuse them. They don't need to know that that happens. They don't need to know the particulars of it. As far as they're concerned, they've uploaded their ad, it's been received, everything's great, they're done. Okay. If that's not the case in your workflow, then you can certainly turn on those options so that they can see them. Okay, now this is the ad that was set to, based on the ad specification, will split automatically after I, as the advertiser, approve it. So let me approve it. Okay, and I just get, this notification that it's working. Okay. And from my perspective, nothing really has changed in this process. It's finished the ad, I get my receipt, I can download my final ad all from up here. Everything looks just like what it always looked like. Okay. But let me log back in again as my publisher. Again, it looks like I've got a full page here, a spread page, but I've now got my left and right pages. And you'll notice that I do not have to click approve because they are done. Okay, so it's not something, we're not introducing an extra layer or another step. If you want it, you can turn it on and have that advertiser approval, but it's not necessary. It can go direct to publisher approvals if you have that set, or it could just be, go right into delivery. So we've tried to streamline this process with splitting and to make it go as easily as possible. Now I want to show you one last thing, and that was we had set up one of our specifications to take single page ads or individual pages. So that was our spread page one. And when you turn on that option, you'll get this interface. Now, this will let us click our choice. We can upload a single file, and in that case, we upload our full, 10 or 11 by 16 or 10 by 16, whatever the size is, uh, or we can select one file per side. And you remember when we set up the ad specs for spreads, there was a label. Well, that's where that comes in. Okay, and I can now browse and select my individual pages. So I'll just quickly grab one there. And it will upload those in sequence. So if the advertiser has already split the ads, we provide you a way to handle that as well. So we tried to be flexible. We tried to hide the pain from the advertisers where it's not necessary for them to know the details. We've hopefully streamlined it, and we hope that the viewing is now more logical as well now that we're grouping everything together. So spreads and splits they're a complex topic. There's a lot of options, and there's been a lot of change, but I hope that this tutorial has really helped shed some light on that. And if you have any questions about those, feel free to contact us in support, talk to your sales rep. We'll be happy to help out with that. So thank you very much for your time. As always, we are very interested to learn what you might like to see for these webinars. So if you have any suggestions for next month, please send us an email in support or to your sales rep, and we'll be delighted to include that in next month's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good afternoon.